Hello, everyone. Before we get into the episode, you may have heard that there was an announcement recently that Jujutsu Kaisen, the manga that we are discussing this week, is going on a hiatus of indeterminate length due to health complications with the mangaka. We here at the OverMangaCast offer our deepest sympathies to Akutami sensei and wish them a speedy recovery. And now, on to the episode. Hello everyone, my name is Sam, and welcome back to That Time We Woke Up in a Podcast and Had to Explain Manga, our heated adventures overanalyzing manga that we find interesting, better known as the OverMangaCast. And if our crap opinions in the past have gotten you angry before, oh well, anger is power, my friend. All negative emotions are power, because this week we're reading Jujutsu Kaisen by Gege Akutami, chapters 1 through 18. Be careful you don't get so angry with us you summon a curse, and enjoy the show. Alright, experience with Jujutsu Kaisen. My experience with this is how it is for a lot of things that I end up reading, both on the podcast and not. A lot of people read it and enjoy it and recommend it to me. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like good. That sounds like something I'd enjoy. And then I don't engage with it until circumstances force me to do otherwise. The only thing that I knew was that another group of my friends highly recommended it for the power system in it, and they said it had a really unique spin to it. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. And now here we are. How about you, Jake?
Pretty similar. Jujutsu Kaisen is a series that I had actually heard of, mostly because anyone who knows anything about anime or manga has been telling me to check it out because how amazing it is. So, like, I'd heard of it. I didn't really know anything about it. And sort of a hilarious and sort of dumb thing, I always heard Jujutsu Kaisen instead of Jujutsu Kaisen, so I was expecting a completely different kind of combat than what we got. I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. I think people might have overhyped it a little bit to me, because when I was initially reading it, I was scrutinizing it really, really hard and not really seeing the appeal. But, like, it does a really good job of establishing its tone. And then I engaged it on its own level, and suddenly I really liked it, so...
yes, you learned how to do the method that I use.
Well, you know, the sort of important thing for people out there, it is really good. I think it might have been overhyped to me personally. It's a fun shonen series. It's more on the fluffy side than not, but yeah, that's my experience, just getting it hyped up all over the place.
How about you, Jay? What's your experience with it?
I'd previously actually not heard of it too strongly. I think it was actually you guys who kind of hyped it up, and I was just like, what is this thing? It wasn't until actually several months ago when I started like seeing some screen art, looking for, could I watch the anime or something like that. So rather recently, it kind of entered my sphere of, so I'm still consider myself pretty new and pretty novice to the series. So this was my first read of the manga, obviously, but I had previously been exposed to it only kind of through recommendation, as the others have said.
And yeah, Matt here. So my experience with Jujutsu Kaisen is basically at the beginning of quarantine, I was reading a lot of manga because not much else to do.
Yeah.
And Jujutsu Kaisen was one of the series on the list of things I was really into. And I'm like, man, if I ever had like a manga discussion podcast I could talk to people about long form manga with, this would be a really good candidate for it. And now we're on like episode 18, so clearly wasn't a top priority, but here we are.
This do be a good series for that. This is the exact kind of series for a forum like this. I'd heard from like not just, leading up to doing this episode of the podcast, but like multiple different people I'd talked to had really sung its praises. I was really glad when I got to it.
It's a fun ride.
It's a fun ride.
I understand why it's so popular. Whether or not I'm fully on that train with people, I don't know. But like, this has all the ingredients that I'm seeing in a box. Like, this strikes a lot of boxes. Just while I was reading it, I got like strong Bleach vibes. Like, it's got that kind of story.
Yeah, Matt kind of marketed this to me as, the reincarnation or the reviving of the whole Bleach idea. And I really enjoyed Bleach. I know that's a controversial viewpoint, but I have seen all of the movies. I've read the manga. I've watched all the anime. I am that person. I will fall on that sword. So I really enjoyed that.
There's a lot of good Bleach. So.
I know, the first 2 arcs, which Jujutsu Kaisen is a lot like.
True to your classic shonen high school battle anime form, it starts in a club room as we are introduced to our principal character, our protag-kun, Yuji Itadori, as he's hanging out with the Occult Club.
Love the bait and switch the manga gets you on this first chapter, because it's like, ooh, he's hanging out with the Occult Club and they're gonna go on a secret spooky ghost hunt. And like, this is the lead up you get in not a shonen manga. A lot of times you get in like this is the lead up you get in like in a shonen horror manga, where the idea is you're going to be like experiencing ghosts from like a very low level. Like, oh, what is the Occult Club going to do? And they need one more member. And like that, it's all like tropes of like your typical like spooky horror manga. And then suddenly Yuji's like, by the way, I am also a demigod.
The immense strength of this boy, like, what is he eating?
I don't know.
It's worth noting, at multiple points established, the supernatural element of this series is not why he's this strong. He's just naturally that strong, somehow.
Dumb strength. He's got dumb strength, and we like it.
I mean, you're not wrong. At one point, he says he can do like a 50-meter dash in 3 seconds, and someone's like, are you a car?
That is an accurate response.
He rolled really good on all his physical stats, and then he dumped intelligence.
Well, like, the main plot line of the first chapter is the track and field coach forged his signature onto a club application that's going to get the Occult Club shut down. And the only way he's going to be allowed to join the Occult Club is if he beats this Olympic-level track and field star in a competition of track and field, to which he does easily with no training.
And he's just kind of confused. He's just like, I've never played this game before. What is this sport?
It's shot put. And look,
Coach thinks that he's just a sprinter, and it's like, I know it. Like, there's a thought bubble of, I know it's underhanded to do a contest of strength instead, and then
the coach had thrown the shot about 14 meters. Yuji winds up and practically baseball pitches it a good 30 to crash into a fence. I've played Persona 5. I'm used to the idea of teenagers clowning on former Olympian athletes who turned into high school track and field coaches. But all the same, this boy is something else.
Yeah, Yuji's got that strong, I'm a shonen protagonist, I don't have to explain why I'm naive and invincible. Like,
call it the Son Goku effect. I'm sure I'm the first person to make that comparison.
Well, we do get disavowed of that notion a bit later in the manga, but...
Yeah, to be fair, like, we're joking about how dumb Yuji is. He's not dumb. Like, I didn't really read him as like...
Oh, I was talking about him being invincible.
He's not dumb. He just doesn't quite grasp his strength. It just has always been. So he's just like, yeah, I'll just do this.
I think specifically what the character bio for him says by the mangaka is that he excels in everything he puts effort into, but he doesn't put a lot of effort into things.
Completely understand that. That's a very apt description.
Yeah, I could see him like being good at academic things, but not caring enough about it to put in the effort. So I think that's a...
I mean, not that we see him much in school. It's his first day of school in the new school today.
He's in the Occult Club, I'm pretty sure just because he kind of likes the two people who are already in it and he wants to hang out because they're friends.
Specifically, he's in the Occult Club because they needed a third member. His requirement is I need to be able to be out of school by 5 o'clock.
Because he needs to get over to the hospital in time to visit his grandpa who is on his deathbed.
So the lead up to this is kind of weird because I'm wondering what the situation is where I'm like, hey, I need to join a club. My grandfather's on his deathbed. I need to visit him after school every day at 5 p.m. At what point do you not just get an exception made for you?
story contrivance. I don't know.
Yeah, everything with the grandpa is a story contrivance.
Yuji seems like the kind of kid that also is willing to just kind of shrug and accept the burden. Like, he wouldn't bother getting the exception for him because he's like, whatever, my situation's exceptional. I don't care. I can just deal with this.
He even references the fact that he just wants, well, I'm not quite, I don't know if I'm recalling this correctly, but it's like he just wants everyone to be happy and to get along. He's not a disruptive person. So as Sam was saying, like, he's not going to be somebody who is going to raise that point, whether or not it's very reasonable and like 99% of people would honor it. He just doesn't want to cause any type of disruption. He just is very much go with the flow and make sure everyone's enjoying themselves and happy and everything. And that looks cool. I'll do that. You know, not really thinking of any repercussions or anything, just kind of just going with it.
He can handle it, so he's willing to deal with the burden. Mentioning the grandpa, this is sort of what I meant about how, like, at first I was scrutinizing it and maybe you know, building it up a little bit too much in my mind, because they're pretty clear about how seriously you're supposed to take it. Like, not to say that the grandpa's passing is like badly done or anything, but it's not exactly like built to make you cry or anything.
I mean, Yuji also doesn't cry. Like, it's not so much like a horrible tragedy so much as this was inevitably going to happen. I'm kind of sad about it.
Even so much so that the nurses are kind of like, are you sure you're okay? And he like kind of laughs it off and says, this is the first time I've gone through this. And, you know, it might kick in later, but, you know, just as
still
he goes
processing it.
Yeah, he's filling in his grandpa's like death paperwork and everything. And it's just...
Yeah, we've already spoiled his grandpa that died, but like...
And to be fair, Grandpa was obviously cool as hell because he's like trying to make this big final deathbed confession, and Yuji's like, I don't want to hear it. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna live. And he's like, damn it, kid, let an old man die looking cool.
Don't you know I'm the grandfather in a shonen manga? I've got to give you some cool advice before I die.
You'll carry with through the rest of the series.
He eventually concedes to just laying over onto his side away from him and going like, look, just help people. Don't die alone like me.
Yeah, you're really strong. You're a good kid. You could help a lot of people. Go out, help people, live a good life. And you're also nice. Don't be a cynical old bastard that drives people away and leaves you alone on your deathbed with just your really nice grandson.
Oh, also he's trying to tell Yuji about his parents, and Yuji's like, I don't care about that plot line.
The manga don't care, he don't care.
Look, I want to know what USSR secret research facility Yuji came out of. Like, I want some Bleach nonsense. Like, I want his mother was secretly a cursed monster from the bottom of the sea and his dad was an astronaut. Like, I want...
If this suddenly turned into some weird cosmic horror BS, you know I'd be absolutely down for it. But alas, that is not what we get.
Because that's one thing Jujutsu Kaisen does really well, which we're going to get into in a second, is when they do monster designs, their monster designs are terrifying.
They are very spooky.
They're visceral and they're like monstrous, and like it's in direct juxtaposition to just how cute some of the characters will look. Like when they're having happy fun times, they're drawn as like little chibis. Yuji in particular gets these like Mickey Mouse eyes.
Yeah, it's very funny because he loses like basically all the detail in his face except for the Mickey Mouse eyes and mouth. The rest of his body, if it's in the same frame, will still be just as detailed. But we did neglect to mention one thing, is that while all these shenanigans with our boy were happening, there's some guy creeping about the school by the name of Megami Fushiguro, and he is looking for a mysterious item that he keeps calling a special grade cursed item.
Just running around being a manga character.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised no one really pulled him aside and said, who the hell are you? Like, you don't even go here.
Yeah, he's not wearing a uniform or anything. He's just wearing all black and it's constantly sticking out of every scene he's in.
Yeah, there's like one point where he says something to the effect of, oh, I'm wasted my time sneaking in. I think the implication is supposed to be something to the effect of like he forged transcripts or something, but like he's not in the uniform, and it is very much the case where like, don't think about it.
He showed up. He's high school age. He's blending in. Nobody's really paying him any attention, despite how brooding and darkly colored he is.
What we did skip over initially was as he saw the thing where Yuji's like super strong and goes like, wow, he's doing that without cursed energy? Weird. But more importantly, as Yuji walks by Megumi, he gets a sniff of him and he smells something. That smelly smell. That smells smelly.
Yeah, he smelled a bit of cursed energy coming off of...
Yeah, you know that smell. That smell that, just smells like a curse. Yeah, that smell.
You know, that like stinky smell that kind of lingers around and you're like, hey, smell this.
It's like there was a really bad fart in the room like a couple of minutes ago, and
almost like someone pulled a finger.
Yeah, you're really abusing this joke, aren't you?
Yuji's in the Occult Research Club. There is a spooky item on campus. Naturally, Yuji acquired the spooky item for his friends, but he was not sticking around to examine the item. He had to go see his grandpa, and he is confronted by freaking what's his name? By Megumi. I keep wanting to say Megumin, but this isn't Konosuba. He's confronted by Fushiguro in the hospital, who's like, all right, where's the cursed item? Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you mean that weird thing that I found wrapped in all sorts of prayer scripts, I already gave it to my friends. They're going to go back into the school later tonight and examine it. Oh, God damn it. Okay. And Fushiguro immediately turns around and heads towards the school. Follow me. Your friends are going to die otherwise.
What?
He specifically says, don't follow me, but Yuji doesn't care.
Yes, because he is a shonen protagonist.
These two are the dichotomy of shonen protagonists. You have the edgy, brooding one, and you have the happy, friendly one.
It is your first impressions of Naruto and Sasuke distilled to their purest form.
I hate how accurate that is.
I mean, kind of. Well, Naruto and Sasuke don't like each other, though.
They don't, but Naruto thinks they do.
What? No, Naruto's constantly... we're not talking about Naruto.
And I also mean more in terms of personality.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the relationship.
It's the two character archetypes.
What?
Like if they made out.
Yes.
Sure. Anyway,
they go to the school and it's full of monsters now.
Yes, because the two other members of the research club peeled the sealing paper off of a...
They did a dumb thing.
Mm-hmm. They did a very dumb thing. A mummified human finger. Human? I don't know.
It's humanoid.
It's human for the purposes we need it to be.
I just want to say that for if these are true dedicated occultists, occult club members, as they say they are, why so dumb? You just don't mess with occult things. You know how dangerous they are. Like anyone.
How much of a club then?
They're probably just high school dumbasses that are intrigued by spooky things.
That they need Yuji to go in for first.
Yeah, they like doing things that scare them. Like, because it's fun.
It's the classic horror movie character problem.
Anyway, Yuji starts punching ghosts.
Yeah, Yuji does indeed start punching ghosts, because we are rapidly introduced to the power system of this manga, which is curses. Curses are the manifestations of negative human emotion that coalesce over time and manifest into these spirit beings that are just general bad news. And places that people have a lot of negative feelings in are generally breeding grounds for curses.
And specifically, that's why the cursed object was there in the first place, because in order to deter high school from just constantly having curses around that eat people, you put a powerful cursed object in there, and the natural, resonant energy coming from it scares weaker curses away. Unfortunately, once you undid the binding, it became a giant buffet of cursed energy that drew everything in.
That's actually something that kind of happens consistently.
But Fushiguro is a jujutsu sorcerer. He is trained to deal with this sort of BS, and so he tells Yuji to stay behind as he goes inside to fight all of these monsters, and he does so by using shadow puppets to summon doggies.
They are good puppers. I love them. Best characters.
Yes, the divine dogs. And, Fushiguro, he's doing a good enough job. He's going around clowning on some curses, then finds the big monster, which is in the middle of trying to devour the rest of the Occult Club.
Well, specifically, it's got
the dude, Iguchi?
No, the dude had his head had a face hugger on. It's the girl who's getting eaten kind of by the giant couch monster. Yeah, it looks really cool.
/molested, one of those things.
This one isn't presented as being particularly much strong. Normally it's something that Fushiguro should be able to handle because it functionally has a hostage at this point. He can't just sick the divine dogs on it because they might rip her up too.
Thankfully, Yuji, complete madman that he is, leaps 4 stories up to crash through a window and drop kick the monster to save his friend.
This is one of many cases where there's something that it's are we going to explain that? No, I guess not. Let's move on.
It was a cool action scene.
Yep.
I guess Yuji is just a demigod. Because what we do get told by Megumi, I think immediately after this, is he has to tell Yuji, by the way, your punches aren't actually doing anything to them other than moving them physically.
You don't have any cursed energy, so you're not damaging them.
Only a stand can fight a stand.
He gets this out right before another monster crashes through the ceiling and starts clowning on Megumi. Launching them out onto a rooftop. Yuji wants to help. He's already decided that he and Fushiguro are going to become best friends. And the guy's like, yeah, no, you're not actually doing anything. You're not going to be able to fight this guy. Just leave it to me, okay?
Sam, what if I ate a finger?
Dude he was a little nippish, a little hungry.
Yeah, that's essentially the level of thought process in the manga too. Is Yuji goes straight to, well, better eat this finger.
He's like, so I need cursed energy in order to fight this thing, huh? And this finger is a cursed object with a lot of power, huh? Well, you are what you eat. Oh.
He is so smart.
The logical connection we're supposed to think Yuji made was these cursed spirits want to eat this finger to gain its power. What if I ate it to gain its power? Which is an interesting connection to make. Luckily, it worked out
really
for him. Kind of.
It's completely logical, guys. I have to give him that.
Essentially, what we get from Megumi is, oh, well, he's dead. Oh, he didn't die immediately. Oh no, this is a 1 in a million chance. This is the worst possible outcome. He survived.
Yes, because that cursed object is not just a cursed object. It is the severed, mummified body part of a ridiculously powerful, famous cursed spirit from eons ago named
Ryomen Sukuna.
I always forget that he has a first name. I always just call him Sukuna.
Yeah, they almost always refer to him as Sukuna. The good news is that Yuji does indeed obtain cursed energy power, and the monster is indeed defeated. So mission accomplished, right?
No.
You would think, Jacob. But unfortunately, I'm no longer the weak boy known as Yuji. I am going to slaughter all the innocent women and children in this weak age. Oh, nope.
Yeah, Sukuna incarnates in Yuji's body and is getting ready to go on a massacre. And then Yuji says, no, this is my body. What do you think you're doing? Give it back. How are you still able to control this? It is my body, you know?
It's a really cool because this conversation is them talking on opposite sides of their face.
I will say there were a couple of cases where I thought that the layout of the speech bubbles was really bad and it was hard to follow the conversation. But the paneling was really good in this because it was very clear who was speaking at what point. Which one was which was, I think, kind of deliberately hard to tell. But once you could figure out what order they were speaking in, you could tell it was two people having a conversation, except they were sharing a body.
Yeah, it also helps that Sukuna has a slightly different font to his dialogue.
He's got the font you see the cursed monsters have sometimes, but also they're not super consistent with that. So later on, he no longer has a custom font, but normally later on it's more obvious who's talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have as many conversations in the same body. And Fushigoro's like, unfortunately, now this means you must die. And he's like, wait, hold on, don't kill me, that'd suck.
And Kakashi appears from a different manga. No, we get Sensei Man, Satoru Gojo.
Gojo Sensei, best character.
He has a blindfold on constantly. And he was late arriving to this because he was buying souvenirs for the train ride home.
He was going to eat
They weren't
them.
souvenirs, they were snacks. It's an
Yeah, they
important
were
distinction that he makes a point of making.
They were
He's
a local,
delightful.
Yeah, they're still a local delicacy, so they were obviously souvenir snacks, but
Whatever, it's important.
because essentially he goes like, "Hold on, Megumi. Maybe don't kill him immediately. This could be cool."
Yeah.
This could be an opportunity. Chance da. Because obviously where there is one finger, there will be others. This Sukuna demon is split kind of Horcrux style between all of his different severed bits. And since Yuji is able to act as a containing vessel, insert Hollow Knight reference here, he can collect all the different bits, and then if he dies, we kill Sukuna in one. So I just need to eat 10 fingers, right? No, you need to eat 20 things. His toes too? No, he had 4 arms.
Dun dun dun.
I love that exchange because it's like, did you purposely give him 20 fingers because you thought that was a better number? Or did you realize after writing the first chapter, you're like, I should give him more than 10 fingers. There's not enough.
We need to pad this as much as we can.
Anyway, that kind of negates the one thing that happens is Gojo basically makes a deal with Yuji. Swap control over to Sukuna for 10 seconds. And then if you can get back control after that, then I'm fine with not killing you here on the spot.
This conversation is happening after the incident with the school occult club unleashing this evil, and Yuji is like tied to a chair with like industrial chains. And Gojo introduces this entire conversation by saying, "So your execution date has been set to 5 minutes ago." And they subsequently have that explanation. And the deal is, we could execute you now. That's what the council wants. Or you could collect the 20 fingers, consume them all, and then we kill you then, which means you get to live longer in the second option.
And Yuji just immediately goes, that sounds cool.
It's not even the council will decide your fate. It's the council has decided your fate.
Yeah.
And then Gojo's just like, you know what I think about what the council thinks? Fuck what the council thinks.
Yeah.
Council's a bunch of crotchety old men. They don't know what's up.
Yeah. He's with it. He's hip.
He is.
He is very much. He's got strong youth pastor energy.
He does.
Turns the chair around and sits down. Yo, Yuji, you want to rap about cursed spirits?
I love Gojo so much. He does not. He says, "Look upon these barren fields. This is where I would grow my bucks if I had any to give."
I'll give him some.
That's it. Oh my God. Jeez.
Wow. Damn. I mean, you're not wrong, but yeah.
Anyway, so Gojo basically just accepts Yuji's answer and is just like, cool. Well, you passed the test.
Oh, damn. After what Jay said, I'm thinking about his infinity powers now. Oh, no.
Oh, no. But anyway, he tells Yuji, cool, you're going to be a vessel for Sukuna, and then we're going to execute you when you've got all 20 of his fingers. By the way, you want a Yuji snack? I got a Yuji snack. And unwraps another finger, and then Yuji eats the other finger, and now he is twice as strong.
He's so smart.
I'm sorry, I should clarify. Sukuna is twice as strong. Yuji does not actually gain any benefit from him.
Because if he allows Sukuna to come out, then short of Yuji taking control back of the body, Sukuna will just do what he wants to do, and that's go on a rampage and slaughter people.
Gotta get that super powered evil side in.
It is honestly one of my favorite examples of a superpowered evil side that I've seen in a long time.
No, it's really cool because the series' main antagonist shares a body with the protagonist.
Mm-hmm. And it gets into this really fun game of essentially politics between the two of them, as Yuji and Sukuna are constantly dealing and compromising and negotiating about who can use the body when and for how much and what's the contract limitations. And
look, I've got guests coming over. Can I just have the body for the weekend?
Oh, God.
I'll give you $5, go see a movie.
That almost literally happens.
Yeah, it does.
it's surprisingly I guess I shouldn't say surprisingly, but it is a really entertaining dynamic between a man and the demon inside of him.
I gotta say, that seems to be a bit of a theme with this series of people actually being their, like, people not realizing that they're their own enemy sort of thing.
Well, that kind of goes into the whole cursed energy thing, because cursed energy is a manifestation of negative human emotion. So the more depressed or angry or anxious or whatever bad thing you're feeling you are, the more powerful your cursed energy is. And if you're a jujutsu sorcerer who can manipulate that sort of thing, being in a bad mental space is power.
Which we kind of see with the jujutsu sorcerers we see later, is the people who are really good at it have something wrong with them that gives them easy access to it.
I think that's not a common trope, though. The more broken you are, either socially or psychologically, the stronger you are, for good and bad.
Yeah, this manga just really takes that idea and runs with it.
It's very cliche in a similar way to Hiroaka. I personally prefer Hiroaka over Jujutsu Kaisen, but it does the same thing where it's like, it knows what the tropes are and it's not going to apologize for it. It's just going to do the tropes in as entertaining a way as possible. And, not being ashamed of your tropes is a good way of getting people to suspend their disbelief, which was sort of the problem that I had at first. Once I suspended my disbelief.
Check your disbelief at the door, Jacob.
I need to do that more often. It's really hard for me.
Yuji's going to Hogwarts now.
Yeah, he spent like a day at the high school that he was supposed to go to, and then it's like, okay, well, now you've got this demon power. You're going to super cool magic high school.
I think Yuji himself is written off as dead to the government. I think is kind of.
I think we're jumping ahead here.
Yeah, that happens later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that happens.
No, that happens later.
It might happen twice.
He gets written off as dead twice.
He's super deceased, cadaverific.
They give him an excuse to get out of his school that I think he must have been there for a week. Definitely not longer than that though. But
because he was there long enough to join a club
and establish friendships. He doesn't just say, oh, these people look cool. He's apparently already been friends with them for some time.
But clearly he's also a new student who's just there because of his grandpa's health issue. And the only thing I'm saying is why it's not his first day is because he does say he's gone to a haunted house with them before.
Yeah.
But they've hung out several times before. There's a relationship there.
So I think about a week is probably what it's been.
Yeah.
But regardless.
Either way, he hasn't been there for long, and then he gets yoinked away because he's got to go to magic school. Jujutsu High.
Unfortunately, in order to enroll, you need to beat the principal in a 1v1 fight.
You need Principal Guy Fieri's approval.
Lest you forget what genre this is.
He looks like Guy Fieri started carving yokai dolls.
I hadn't really thought about that, but when you put it that way, he really does.
Anyway, he takes Yuji to Flavor Town.
Yes.
The principal asks him why he wants to become a jujutsu sorcerer, and until Yuji gives him an acceptable answer, the Kappa doll, which isn't a doll, it's a corpse that he has carved into this shape and filled with cursed energy. At least according to what the dialogue says, that because it's called a cursed corpse.
So I think that means it's a vessel that has been filled with cursed energy. I think they're calling it a corpse because it's dark and brooding.
They're not ultra clear on it, is the thing.
Yeah, things in this series get called like way darker than they are a lot of times. Like the substance that was used to seal Sukuno's fingers was called corpse wax. Unfortunately, that is wax made from decomposed human bodies, so maybe not the best example.
That is an actual thing.
We already have corpse oil. Like, that's a thing.
Apparently, both of those are things. Remind me never to cross Sam or Jay. They know things I don't want to know.
Our knowledge of dead bodies is vast and perhaps unnecessarily so.
Alrighty, Sam, we'd be a better occult club. Hey, don't do the dumb thing.
Exactly.
Hey, Sam, you want to play with a Ouija board? Nothing bad could happen.
I'd be the better occult club because I'd be like, ooh, tasty finger.
Anyway, a Capital named Kathy beats the crap out of Yuji because Principal Guy Fieri doesn't accept my grandpa's dying wish was to help people is a appropriate reason to become a Jujutsu sorcerer.
Yuji doesn't really understand up until he's getting beaten in and the principal just yells, is it going to be your grandfather's fault when you die?
Mm-hmm.
And that really shakes Yuji to the core of like, wait, no.
That's a very good question, though. It encourages him to use critical thought of being like, hey, I know your grandfather said this, but is it a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you just following your grandfather's orders, or are you taking his life advice to heart?
Yeah.
Is really what shakes Yuji. And Yuji realizes, no, I should think about why I want to follow his last wish. Oh, because I'd feel like crap if I knew I could help people and I didn't.
Mm-hmm. It's like Jake said, this manga is not afraid to show its tropes on its sleeve. It's also not afraid to subvert them in some ways, because like in a more standard shonen manga, it's my grandfather's dying wish would have been a perfectly acceptable reason, but no, he has to go one step deeper, and it's like, why did your grandfather's dying wish compel you? Is it just to honor your grandpa? No, it's because it's something that is inherent to you and not him. And also, I like Yuji's other reason of Jujutsu sorcerers don't die without regrets. But that might be the case, but he's not going to live with them.
Yeah, I think that has more of an effect on the on Guy Fieri. What is his actual name?
His actual name
Principal
is
Yaga.
Yaga, okay. Because I think that has at least as much of an effect on Yaga. You know, if you're going to do this, you have to think about it very hard, because in this job, every Jujutsu sorcerer dies with regrets.
Got a strong Chainsaw Man energy in this scene. It's just like, hey, this is a dangerous job you're going to die in.
Yeah, I had this same thought. This is a dangerous job you're going to die in, and nobody does this if they're not a little crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
And in this, I mean, craziness is literally power in a sense. But
yeah, it shows brokenness, deviation from the norm. You can be powerful by being different, children.
Remember,
powerful by cannibalism.
Yes.
Wait. Hold up.
Eat fingers, gain power.
Eat fingers, gain power. I think one of the things that we forgot to mention as another little side effect of Sukuna inhabiting Yuji's body is he can just manifest mouths anywhere on Yuji's body, like he's freaking Datara, and just start talking to him.
Yeah, there's a fun bit where Sukuna creates a mouth on Yuji's cheek, and he's like, "Oh, not this again." Slaps his hand over his cheek, and then the mouth just forms on the back of his hand and continues talking.
I love Yuji's reaction to this is like, yeah, sorry, he does this sometimes. Like, it's not much of a bother to Yuji, it's just...
It's occasionally like a minor annoyance.
And like one of the terms of his commuted sentence is being able to control Sukuna, so it's like, don't worry, this isn't me losing control. He's just chatty.
Being a little shit.
That is most of his character, so.
A little four-armed gremlin.
Yuji gets accepted into Tokyo Jujutsu High School. And can we talk about the campus here?
Yeah, it's this massive freaking complex in the mountains, but there's only like maximum a dozen students spread out over 4 years at a time.
I think we explicitly get told how many students there are. There's the 3 first years of one we're going to meet shortly. Mm-hmm. There are the 3 second years, and then there is 2 fourth years.
And do we know if there are class caps or if it's specifically like on people who demonstrate capability or power?
I don't know about class caps, but it's definitely the way that it's framed from what is explained to Yuji is the number of people who are even capable of interacting with curses other than just getting killed by them is extremely small, and the death rate of this job is extremely high. So we're almost always under.
So like Demon Core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always low on personnel. Ain't that just the truth of the world?
Why don't more people want this job? I don't understand.
Why don't more people want to constantly delve into the darkness of their own psyche
We
to gain
actually have decent wages. I don't understand.
They do have decent wages. That gets brought up in asides.
There's also a problem of not everybody can just kind of become a jujutsu sorcerer. There's a certain amount of inbred talent that comes along with it.
And not that type of inbred. The other inbred.
Indeed. Most of the people who are in the classes right now are from a bloodline of sorcerers, and so they have been trained for a long time.
Or maybe that type of inbred. I changed my point.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
Yeah. We are talking about noble families. No matter what time, no matter what place, Habsburg syndrome gets us all.
Luckily, we don't have to deal with that with the new girl.
Yeah.
Because despite the fact that Yuji was the 3rd student of this year, for some reason, the girl had not shown up yet, and they needed to pick her up in Tokyo.
Mm-hmm. Nobara Kugisaki.
It should be noted that Fushiguro is the other first year.
Yes.
That's of the 3, it's Fushiguro, Yuji, and our new character.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Megumi is still recovering from his injuries during the school fight. Yeah, but so he goes along with this mission, but is not going to participate.
You know, we don't even really expect it to be a mission. It's just picking up the new student who is a very abrasive type.
Ooh, Sam, be careful. The internet loves her.
I'm not shocked.
I'm not surprised. We live in a post-Resident Evil 8 age.
She is a very tall woman.
Very ample figure.
Some huge tracts of land in the mountains.
well, no, huge tracts of land because she's a country girl, right?
Yeah, that's what we're referring to.
Country, she's a country bumpkin.
Don't read into that.
Yeah, don't think too much, Samuel.
She is a country girl who has moved to the city because she idolizes Tokyo. We get a little bit of her backstory in essentially it's a page where she just explains her backstory, but it doesn't go into any real detail.
It's essentially, I lived in a rural bumpkin town. I became friends with this girl who moved there. She got bullied and had to move to Tokyo, and now I want to go to Tokyo and leave this bumpkin town.
She was originally from Tokyo. She was a city girl who moved to the country, and because she was a city girl, she was horribly bullied.
Right.
Nobara's friend.
Nobara's friend, should be clarified.
Yeah, she was a city girl, and, country bumpkins are just like, go back to the city. You city people always coming out here, and you think you're better than us, and go back to the city. Go back to where you came from.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a pretty on-point representation of what the manga tells us these people were like constantly saying city, because that gets brought up by her character a lot, as well as Yuji. They're all super excited to be in the city.
Saying your friend who specifically came out of the city and was more open and welcoming of you really gave her a better taste of people who like vehemently just like, oh, I'm disgusted by outsiders. It's just a little bit of irony there that was really funny.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as country bumpkins ourselves, Jake and I can attest.
You deeply hate city people.
Funnily enough, I was originally city and moved to country, so I've
But you weren't horribly bullied about it, were you?
like the attitude that's like presented in the manga is obviously hyperbolized for the sake of backstory, but like there is a sort of like if you weren't born here, you'll never be native, even if you've been here basically your entire life, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, of course, it's a manga that has all this supernatural stuff, so they dial it up to 11.
Nobara is just happy to be in the city, wants to become an idol or a model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she gets off the train and it's like, okay, now when do I get scouted? Starts scanning the crowd.
I actually felt kind of bad for her because I mean, like she immediately closes in on this guy who's scouting this girl, like random girls on the street, saying, "Ooh, you should model for my company or whatever." And then she goes up behind, like creeps up behind him, taps him on the shoulder, and be like, "I'll do it. What about me?" And typical, yeah.
The guy kept getting, "Oh, I'm busy, go away," and then he rounds on her and gives her one of those. It's kind of brutal.
Yeah, I
that.
cringed. No, because I mean seriously, she's not ugly, guys.
She's not, but she is not.
She's cute.
She is not the traditional ideal of Japanese femininity. Is really the thing. She is big and strong. Or tall and strong, I should say, because she's also not necessarily that big.
I'm just saying, there's definitely a market for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into
I've
detail.
also seen the internet, Jay.
Again, we live in a post-Resident Evil 8 world. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she's like the tallest of the group. She's comparable to Yuji, at least.
She's taller than Yuji, I know that.
Gojo Sensei promises to take them on a tour of the city. And aren't these simple country folk just so excited about that? And haha, fooled you. We're going to an abandoned district and we're going to go to this creepy old shopping mall and go fight some curses, kids.
Yay!
Oh,
This is not what we
I
were
wanted to go to
promised.
Disneyland.
They do want to go to
Tokyo Disney.
Disneyland on the way there.
Yuji wants to go to Chinatown and then has to be told in the author's notes that that's not even the right part of Tokyo.
No, it's not.
Fushiguro isn't allowed to go in and do the fighting on the curses because he's still recovering from his wounds. And, you know, props to a shonen anime for actually caring about healing time. So our two newbies get sent in. The kid without any innate cursed power of his own and absolutely zero training in the jujutsu world, and this untested city girl who maybe dealt with a couple of bad vibes out in the country once or twice, but now welcome to a metropolis where it's a huge concentration of people dealing in a very stressful environment.
Yeah,
The curses in cities are just way stronger and more numerous.
because there's more humans to gain negative emotion from is really how it's explained. The one big caveat that goes in is Yuji is explicitly told, do not unleash Sukano. Sukana?
Sukuna.
Sukuna. Sukuna Matata. No. Sukuna.
That help you?
Because if he does, the first thing he is going to do is kill Nobara.
Sukuna actually even says as much.
Yeah, if you use me, I'll just murder your friends, kid. You want that? No? All right, then. Keep that in mind.
We're like, we can't just send this child who can't even fight demons into this infested house. I know. Let's give him a knife.
I'll give him a fancy knife.
This Monster Hunter looking knife that I assume must be made from like the parts of cursed spirits, and it is explicitly called Demon Slaughter. The knife is named Demon Slaughter.
That knife is awesome and it deserves more screen time.
What happens to Yuji in this arc, actually?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the knife gets shattered, doesn't it?
No, he has the knife all through this arc. But what happens, like, immediately the two walk in, and Yuji gets pulled up to the ceiling by a cursed spirit we never even see full-on panel. And then we just follow Nobara for the rest of the arc, which, fair.
Mm-hmm. This is supposed to be her introductory thing, after all.
You know, you point that out, and, like, there's a lot of cases where people will either get pulled up through ceilings or down through floors by by curse spirits to separate people out. Like that happens at least one other time, and I think more than that.
I mean, that's just how cursed spirits hunt. You gotta separate people in. I mean, that makes sense. If you can just walk through floors, you separate your targets. But it's also a good narrative device of, well, the party's split up. Yeah, we get a really cool scene where Nobara essentially uses her spiritual perception, sees that there is a cursed spirit hiding in a mannequin, and her weapon she uses is a hammer and a bunch of cursed nails. I believe the hammer is also cursed.
By hammer?
I love her weapon.
It's very interesting.
It's a claw hammer. Like
it's from a hardware store.
Yeah. It has a little heart drawn on it.
No, I just appreciate, I appreciate weapons that have multiple parts that are not, just like a sword or something like that. Or something that are more complex.
Swords are too boring. Let's make them more complicated, said the fan of Bleach.
You know what?
I know, cheap shot on Bleach. Type Kubo's made more money than I ever will.
I already know that people have their opinions about Bleach. I told you I was willing to die on that sword. Yes, I know that is very hilarious, but...
Gonna die on that Bankai?
I wasn't gonna make that pun, but
of all the characters, Nobara in particular is the one who gives me the most Bleach vibes, specifically because she does dye her hair orange. Mm-hmm. So she bleaches her hair. But also the way she uses regular items with spiritual energy.
Her hair is she actually bleaches it. Ichigo is natural. You gotta remember that.
Because his mom is secretly a demon from the bottom of the ocean or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned the fact that Yuji's hair is pink with black roots.
I forgot.
Yeah, and the color, it's pink with black roots.
Oh, I was gonna say, I just saw it on the Shonen Jump website, so I wasn't really looking at the covers. I hadn't seen it colored.
Yeah, that's his natural hair color. I think they just all have bleached hair.
Yeah, probably. But
it's natural, Matthew. How dare you?
Nobara seems like the type of person who would bleach her hair, let's be honest.
She does.
Like the city folk.
I love how we've talked about Nobara's hair more so than her fight, which is a really good fight.
Her fight, which is really cool. I keep wanting to talk about how cool her weapons are, because I also like weapons that are unintentional uses out of everyday items, because she does just have a hammer and some nails from the hardware store in what is an undoubtedly awesome maneuver, even if it is empowered by magic. Throws up a pair of nails, hits them with the hammer, and slams them into the mannequin, and then channels cursed energy through the nails to explode the mannequin demon's head.
Yeah, because as long as the nails are any amount into whatever they hit, they will continue being hammered in as if a hammer was hitting them by the curse energy, and it's really cool.
I love it so much.
She even warns the spirit, hey, you might want to take those out. Up, too late.
She's a character that if she was more poorly written, she'd be very easy to hate, because she has a really big personality. But one of the things that really impressed me about her is that, there's the whole thing about, oh, she's the country bumpkin, so excited to see the city. But when it comes down to doing her job and getting down to business, she doesn't just warn, hey, you better take those out if you don't want to die. She goes into the room with this mannequin, immediately lays eyes on the mannequin, and it's like, do you really think you're hiding? I know you're there, right? Okay, well, if you're not gonna move, and then she hits it with the cursed nails, and there's a level of confidence of her that in this moment she backs up that makes you really invested in her.
I also am a huge sucker for the moment of main character stops in a seemingly obscure location and is like, I know you're there. After she handily dispatches the mannequin curse, she notices a small boy crying in the corner. Is like, oh crap, we got to get this kid out of here.
At first, she beckons the little boy over, and he shakes his head no, and she has that internal moment of, oh, he must be intimidated by my beauty, because like I said, a more poorly written version of her would not be particularly likable.
So she starts to walk away, and the kid's like, wait, no, don't leave me, and another curse pops out and holds the boy hostage.
And then suddenly comes out the honeycomb mascot.
It is a hairy little gremlin monster. It's ugly as sin.
I thought it was kind of cute with the bug eyes and the, yeah.
Look, I'm just saying, when it wants my breakfast cereal, it will never get those delicious honeycombs.
It does kind of do that thing where it loops around through all the way through ugly back to cute.
It's so ugly, it's cute. Like Sphinx cats.
Ugly
Yeah.
cute.
Sorry, guys.
She's like, well, crap. I went and got the kid hostage. I better put down my weapons and see what I can do to think my way out of this situation. And Yuji's fist just comes through a wall next to the thing's head. Pause. Ah, crap, I missed it, didn't I? And then he Kool-Aid Mans through the entire wall.
It's one of those moments that really endears you to Nobara because you hear her internal monologue and she goes through the very like trolley problem logic of, if I put down my weapon, the thing's still going to kill the little boy. And then it will also kill me, and then anyone I would have saved is going to die. The logical thing for me to do is to not care about the hostage and do my job, because, you know, the kid doesn't get saved either way. But then she just reflexively drops her weapon anyway. That reflexive empathy is another one of those cases where, with how, you know, bombastic she is, her shtick could run out quickly if she wasn't so immediately likable for her skill and for her understanding of what's important in her job.
And unfortunately, the monster is about to get away because Yuji saves the kid as the priority by cutting off the thing's hand, and it makes a break for it. But then Nobara is like, hey, don't worry, I always have a backup plan, and pulls out a straw doll and hammers it to the wall with a cursed nail, and that thing, monster in the air, just explodes into nails from its heart.
I love her weird voodoo powers.
Yeah, she uses the severed arm to like get an attachment to it.
Big shocker, the Dresden Files fan loves the weird thaumaturgy powers, but yeah.
Oh, and it's really cool because Sensei is proud of them for finishing their mission, and Yuji didn't mess it up by going evil.
Yeah, that's the real victory right there.
And then they argue about where they're going to eat dinner. And I only bring that up because I love how the manga just ends at them all discussing this. But when I watched this episode of the anime, they literally go on like a chunk of time debating where they're going to eat dinner and then go to that place to eat dinner. Like, it's weird filler.
Was it steak or sushi then? This is important.
I think the joke was they went to where Megumi wanted to eat, and he wanted to go to like a discount sushi place. So Gojo was willing to like get them like really nice food, which is the joke with Yuji and Nobara.
You know, they kind of deserved it because they like, it was their first outing, and immediately they get thrown into the fire, and it's like, hey, you kind of owe us here.
The joke is the two of them are asking for very expensive dinners.
They're new to the city.
Yeah, the joke ended up being Megumi just wants to go to a discount sushi place. Mm-hmm. So,
do we know where if he's native to like Tokyo area? So he's just like, he's like, I just want dinner. I don't care.
Because he's part of one of the big Jujutsu sorcerer bloodlines, so that would make sense that he's, you know, from the city.
Yeah, and they're like, this is the first night, literally their first day, and they get welcomed by having to have the super difficult mission. It's like, at least you can like give them a nice dinner.
Hey, kids ain't gonna learn otherwise.
I like the manga implication because they don't even bring up discount sushi. You just assume they went to one of those really nice places to celebrate. Like,
yep.
But anyway, I love the opening to the next arc because it's just a floating fetus moon above a detention center with some people on the ground going like, what's that? And then
political symbolism.
Hey,
I saw this in the New Yorker.
Hey, dungeon masters out there, you ever want a creepy scene?
It's really great because we get like a write-up for the mission in like plain black text boxes, and it's like,
it's not even a write-up. It's not even a write-up for the mission. It's the debriefing report at the end, because it says 3 students from Jujutsu High went into that detention center in order to save people from the curse that manifested in the moon, and one of them died.
And one of them died.
Dun, dun, dun.
So Gojo Sensei is off on a business trip, so he can't use his BS powers to just insta-win this mission.
Yeah, we've not really gone into it, but something that's important to understand about Gojo, basically nothing that we've encountered up to this even worth his time, and we've done some pretty serious stuff already.
He is self-proclaimed, and other characters confirm it, the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
He is absurdly powerful, which we will get to see on full display, but not quite yet.
Because of that, we get stuck with businessman Kiyotaki Ijichi.
This poor guy.
This poor guy.
I'm not sure if I should have sympathy for him, though, because
Me neither.
Is he part of it? Well, let's get into this arc, and then we can...
I'm not sure if he's a part of the conspiracy or if he's just into being negged, but...
Anyway, this Japanese businessman essentially takes these three first-year students on their field trip and basically goes, hey, kids, there's this mission. It's a juvenile detention facility. We assume all the inmates are dead.
But there's like 5 people that didn't make it out in the evacuation order, so you should probably go save them. By the way, this thing that's in there, it's a special grade curse, which means you should just run away if you see it. And Yuji, noob that he is, an audience surrogate, raises his hand and says, what's special grade mean? Well, you see, we have a 5-grade scale. We have grade 4, and I actually really like this because they compare the power levels to what it would take in conventional weapons to defeat them. Grade 4 is you could probably take it on with a wooden baseball bat. Grade 3 is you could fight it with a pistol and win. Grade 2, you'd need some pretty high caliber weaponry. You're cutting it close with a shotgun in its face. Grade 1 is not even a tank would be enough. And special grade is you should just carpet bomb the entire area.
I will say, I do like the grade system. The one issue that I have is they'll drop special grades really commonly, and it makes special grade lose its luster. Like the grade system itself, I think works, but one of my few issues that I do actually have to call the series out on is they drop special grade way too often.
I mean, that's the thing you get every time a shonen mentions a power scale. Like, to the point One Punch Man mocks it because they've got god level threat and like wolf deep and like what matters in that though?
I think that actually serves the story in a way because while it comes up much later in our reading than where we are right now in our review, Gojo mentions that more and more of the new generation of sorcerers are going to be reaching grades 1 and special because Jujutsu sorcerers are on the same grade scale. And so obviously the base power level of curses and consequently sorcerers is getting higher and higher to the point where the grade system is probably going to need to be changed. So I think the fact that special grades show up so frequently in this, and obviously there is a gradient of power even within special grade, it's supposed to be emblematic of this changing world.
Even in this arc, we get 2 specials who meet up with each other, and the level of difference in power between them is also like an infinite chasm.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's actually a plot point that their grading system is no longer valid to the world they're in.
So while I understand your criticism, Jake, I think it's serving more of a function than it is the manga not, paying particular attention to its power level. But moving on into the actual incident, they head into the detention facility and rapidly find out that they are now trapped inside some sort of weird infinite labyrinth. Because if you have enough cursed energy, you can create a pocket dimension called a domain. And that is what the beast in this place did. So thankfully, Fushiguro, with his very good doges, is able to sniff out the entrance so they have their way out. Let's just find those hostages and be on our way. Oh, they're all gruesomely murdered. And I mean gruesomely murdered. Some of them are literally folded into balls.
Yeah, like as I said earlier, Jujutsu Kaisen has like a very strong art shift with how cute things can be. And like the panels before this is them playing with Megumi's dogs. Like, oh, they're so cute. Good boy, good boy. And then we get this big panel of, oh no, these are dismembered human corpses. Oh jeez.
In other words, it's a very nice flex of their artistic ability, their creativity. I appreciate it.
Oh no, at no point will I say the art in this is bad. Like, this is consistently really good.
I haven't had a chance to bring it up yet, but I absolutely adore the facial expressions. These are some of the most expressive manga characters I've ever seen.
I mean, yeah, I would say short of One Punch Man, which, I mean, you can't touch that art, but like this is probably up there with the best art we've had.
They're standing there among all the bodies. A civilian had walked up before they went in there and was like, "Is my son in there? Did he get out okay?" And, oh, well, her son is among the bodies. Sorry about that. And
well, about half of them is on the pile. You don't know where the other half went.
Yuji's just like, well, we got to take this body back. And then he gets into a fight with Megumi about like, no, we're not going to do that. This person got what they deserved. And
we're not doing that for some piece of crap repeat offender criminal. It's like he drove without a license.
Yeah, this scene is interesting.
He did do a bit of, I don't exactly remember. It's either vehicular manslaughter or
he hit a girl on the second time he drove without a license, assumedly killing her. But like, I mean, obviously Megumi is being written to be overreacting in this scene. I'm not sure how much the audience is supposed to expect he's overreacting, though, is the kind of...
Either way, they don't get a long time to deliberate on this because the
like lose his license, or was it just revoked?
He was too young.
Yeah.
He was too young to get a license.
So I would say the gravity is a little different because it implies that he was never properly trained in the first place. It's not somebody who had their license revoked, which, you know, for all intents and purposes, wouldn't diminish your driving skill. This is someone who logically didn't go through practical training in any form.
Well, it's a juvenile detention center is the big thing. So these are like high school students.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand what Sam's saying, but I feel like there's a different gravity there. It's not like it's somebody who, you know, had DUIs and just got their license revoked and then all of a sudden didn't have a license. This is somebody who was never properly trained in the first place, decided to take it for a joyride, and then on the second attempt killed someone. You know, someone who's completely not trained at all.
Which again, it's purposefully supposed to be like Megumi's overreacting. Which we get some flashbacks from him explaining why he's doing. Not really, though. They're kind of vague flashbacks. It's more so he then tells us what his emotional takeaway from them is.
Yeah. The important thing here is conflict between our main characters just long enough for the curse to show up. And it is this fish face looking motherfucker. It is ugly as hell, really intimidating to look at, and swiftly just takes off Yuji's freaking hand.
Yeah, and I love how every point after his hand just gets cut off, we see his belt wrapped around his wrist as a tourniquet.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we should mention at some point Nobara got kidnapped. I can't remember when that happened.
See, that's one of the other times that a curse goes through a floor and kidnaps somebody.
It's just before the special grade curse shows up to start fighting the other two, but she gets like sucked down into the shadow realm and fights a bunch of ghosts.
Yeah, it's during the conversation about whether or not the
body should be returned. Yeah.
Oh, right. And she was gonna join in the combo, but they're like, no, we need to have one-on-one tension. Narrative ghost.
Activate.
But yeah, basically what the fight comes down to was originally they were gonna fight it together and see how that worked. And then that quickly became, get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stall for time.
It is sadistic, and I'm unusually strong. I can distract it. Just send me a signal.
And we get to see the air quotes around unusually strong for Yuji in this, because
Yuji gets clowned on.
He loses all his fingers at one point, like...
Yeah, like the thing does a big demon key burst attack, and Yuji tries to hold it back with his own cursed energy, and it's stripping away the skin and then the muscle and then the bone of the fingers on his remaining hand until they're half stubs. This entire fight is intercut with panels of just blackness with his motto, help people, his grandpa's final wish written there, slowly warbling and waving and distorting as he is reacting to the incredible amount of pain that he's in and how messed up his situation is.
And unfortunately, the biggest tragedy of all, at some point during this stalling for time, the mighty weapon Demon Slaughter is broken.
Yeah. Rip in peace, Demon Slaughter.
Megumi uses his divine dogs. Oh, also, one of the dogs just got splatted against a wall.
Oh yeah, one of the dogs got murked to hell by the
Let's
curse.
not talk about that part. I hope that the doggo comes back. I hope that
Yeah, Jacob is like me. I get irrationally angry when I see an animal harmed in any way.
I don't think his cursed spirits come back. I think he just has a lot of them.
Well, I want them to, cause doggo.
It's a very gruesome panel, yes. The remaining divine dog sniffs out Nobara's location. I wish we could see more of her situation because she is standing on a metaphorical pile of bodies with a broken weapon saying, "Come at me, you bastards. I'll curse you with my final breath."
Isn't she being dangled above a giant monster about to eat her
by her ankle? Yeah. And she is still spitting that smoke. I respect the hell out of her for it.
She's pretty great.
She's like, I hope I give you indigestion. Like, that's the energy.
Well, no, you're right, but I respect the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another thing that is perhaps important to understand about this situation, the way that it's all framed is Jujutsu Society is shorthanded. They're sending these students in. What they tell the students is you're unlikely to encounter something that you can't handle. Just get in and get out quickly. But it's become very obvious very quickly that this is a situation that would require people who are far better trained than these first years.
They should have sent in Gojo.
Yeah, they have thrown these kids to the sharks.
Mm-hmm.
And, the fact that Nobara is holding up as well as she is.
She didn't get her, sushi.
Or maybe she did. We don't know in the manga.
We don't know.
We don't?
But
She could have at least had a nice meal, but we don't know.
Anyway, this arc's wrapping up because Nobara manages to get I'm sorry, the other way around.
Fushiguro manages to get Nobara out and gives the signal, which is the doggo going awoo.
Yep, and Yuji's just like, oh, that's the signal. Time to let my evil psychopath half take over.
Bang, 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 pull my devil trigger, and Sukuna takes over the body. And Sukuna's immediately like, hey, you there, the special great cursed spirit, you want to go kill those kids? And the spirit attacks him and he's like, all right, whatever, weakling, and proceeds to clown the hell out of this monster that was ripping our main character squad to pieces.
He uses his limbs to make modern art.
And it's hilarious because we get the scenes of Sukuna when he's like getting attacked, he blocks it and then looks over to realize, dang it, I healed Yuji's hand.
I didn't mean to do that.
I regenerated his stupid hand on instinct. Now he'll have a whole body when he takes control again, whatever.
Level of power between these people ranked at the same level.
Does regeneration take any nutrients from the body?
No, it uses cursed energy.
Okay.
Yeah, specifically, it's brought up that it takes a stupid huge amount of cursed energy.
And specifically, Sukuna is upset because he's in a human body. It takes even more cursed energy because they go into cursed spirits are healed by.
Which is why it's kind of interesting where he kind of like offhandedly remembers that he healed his hand. Because if it takes an exorbitant amount of energy, it's like you would be aware of that,
No, I 100% believe Sukuna carelessly spends an enormous amount of energy.
Yeah, I think that's what that's supposed to establish is the fact that they talk about how much energy it takes to heal.
He complains on multiple occasions about, I'm in a stupid human body. They're super spongy and useless, and I need a stronger body.
He loves his human body. Mm-hmm. First line out of him is he's like, yes, flesh. This is truly what light is supposed to be experienced in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to interpret by that statement.
I think the point is that Sukuna is just so ridiculously stupid powerful that dumping incredible amounts of energy into doing something that would exhaust any other spirit or sorcerer is just a casual thought for him.
So I would not go to him for personal finance advice.
No. He overinvests.
He's the kind of guy that buys a yacht because he had an inkling of going out on the lake today.
Yeah.
And then walks into his garage and be like, why do I have a yacht?
Yeah.
The other thing that's worth noting about Sukuna, there's the 20 fingers that are like all have a piece of his power. Yuji has 2.
Yes.
So this is 10% of his power. Like, it's literally, good job, you made me use 10% of my power.
So that's actually a thing to bring up. I don't think that's necessarily how it works. Like, I don't think each of the fingers is a fraction of the full amount, because I think what has happened is the fingers, as they've been sealed, have been independently growing in strength. That's why Sukuna does not care if Yuji dies, because he's like,
Right.
I lose 2 fingers. I just need 1 finger to still exist, and I can be reincarnated. Like, my power is my power. The fingers on their own have been, yeah, they're my Horcruxes, but the fingers on their own have been generating power as well.
Yeah, because this is, as I noted earlier, the great like negotiation scene between the two of them, like each of them pretty wonderfully playing the other for what they want. Yuji like, all right, you need to destroy this monster. All right, well, I'm going to just not do that and go on a rampage. Well, then I'll just take control back and you'll die. I don't care if these 2 fingers die. I've got 18 more. But, you know, Sukuna does absolutely destroy the curse, which doesn't even have a name.
Yeah, it's really funny because he kind of like gets into like a back and forth, like, well, I guess I'm forced to fight you now.
Yeah, and they kind of have like a buddy. They kind of have like a buddy like back and forth. Well, it's not really a back and forth because obviously the curse. Yeah, and he's just like, you know, I wouldn't normally like fight you, but we're put in the circumstance where, you know, kind of have to.
Mm-hmm. And then he accidentally uses a technique that cuts him into 5 pieces, and he's like, oh, well, my toy's done. I'll take my finger back. Ooh, yeah. Tasty finger.
Yeah, because this spirit, this special grade curse, had one of Sukuna's fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Which explains why it was so dummy powerful.
And also explains why Sukuna was twice as powerful as it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, simple math.
And so, 3rd finger eaten. We are now at 3 out of 20.
Woo!
It's great. The second he eats the finger inside the room, the manga just jump cuts to him being outside threatening to kill Megumi. Because the second he kills the cursed spirit, the domain around the building breaks and you can just leave freely. So Sukuna's like, well, I'm gonna murder some kids. Because he tries to give Yuji back control at the end of the fight and then realizes, oh, wait, no, did Yuji black out?
Oh, Yuji's not taking back control? Omoshiroi!
Gonna murder some kids.
And he goes to murder some kids, and Megumi isn't super worried. He's like, Yuji will just take back control before you kill me. Oh, that's right. He might do that. Hold up a sec. And then Sukuna tears out his heart.
Tears out his own heart, it should be noted.
Yeah, he tears out Yuji's heart.
Specifically so that he cannot resume control.
I can live without a heart. Your friend sure can't.
If the kid comes back, he's gonna die.
You know, no one can be that selfless, right? He's gonna die, so obviously he's not gonna come back.
And then Megumi, because he had a negative character aspect earlier in this arc, is just like, you're right. Everyone is incredibly selfish on their own. No one would act selflessly.
Until I remember my Nakama.
Yeah, it's very much Megumi learning a lesson. But he does have a fun bit where he just keeps summoning his cursed spirits and they get one shot by Sukuna. And his strategy entirely is, I need to tire him out enough that he needs to put the heart back in. Which isn't really even a theory he thinks is going to work. He's just outright saying, this is literally my only shot.
This is probably not going to work, but it's all I got. Screw it.
And Sukana's a dick, so he toys with him until they're fighting on top of a building.
You know, Megumi, getting the crap beat out of him, is asked once more, why did you let this kid live if you're such a heartless bastard who's only interested in exercising curses? And he's like, yeah, I'm a jujutsu sorcerer. We're not heroes, but it just didn't seem fair to let that kid die for doing something selfless.
Yeah, specifically, Megumi is like, my morality tells me the best thing to do would have been to kill Yuji when he was weak, because he was a curse now. I acted selfishly against my morality because I wanted to save someone, even if they didn't deserve it.
Because we don't know who, but a lady in his life was a very sweet and compassionate person. And he's like, maybe compassionate people should be allowed to live.
Anyway, that little emotional pep talk from his friend is enough for Yuji to immediately go, yeah, I guess I'll take back control. Oh, I'm missing a heart.
Yeah, I guess you really are a good person, Megami. Anyway, live a long life. Live long and prosper. Goodbye.
I'm dead now.
Falls over, freaking dead.
And now I am the dead. Let.
Mm-hmm.
And like the beginning of this arc said, someone will die at the end, and Yuji is dead.
So before we get to the inevitable bit where he is a shonen protagonist and did you really think killing him would make him die, we have to have a bad guy meet up. A character that Jacob and I are familiar with because we read the prologue, but everybody else really isn't.
A note for people, and if you're
if you've already done the reading, it's too late to clarify this for you.
Yeah, you've already should have done the reading, but if you haven't and you want to do the reading, Shonen Jump puts the prologue first. Apparently, it's suggested you wait till about chapter 60 before reading the prologue. It's not the worst thing in the world to read the prologue first, but for those of you who are reading after for whatever reason, that's out there for you.
When the second year kids at Jujutsu High are introduced, you'll be like, oh, I recognize them, instead of, ooh, these are cool. That's the most prominent effect that reading the prologue had on me, at any rate.
You also know this dude's name, because I don't think he's introduced in what we read, but the man goes by the name Ghetto. He has a real funny scene where he goes into a restaurant and he's followed by these two really strong humanoid cursed spirits, and the hostess just goes, table for one? Yes, a table for one.
he hams it up so hard.
Because, only a jujutsu sorcerer or somebody attuned to the spirit world can see a curse. And so he, for all intents and purposes, he is sitting there by himself talking to thin air at this table. I did love this moment. He's talking to a one-eyed black-toothed thing with a volcano for a head.
Maybe it's best that he's, sitting, for all intents and purposes alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because a waiter is like, this guy's been here for a while and he hasn't ordered anything, and I'm a very dutiful waiter for the sake of my family, but I ain't going near that table. It's got a powerful killing intent and I want to live.
Now, can we talk about the waiter's motivation?
It was really weird because I read that panel and I was confused.
It's such a weird...
Because he's working for his daughter sister-in-law's daughters. So I worked it out. It's his wife's sisters, right?
Yeah, his wife's sister's daughters are going to college, all four of them. And so he works extra diligently as a waiter at this restaurant.
So why does this fall on him? I just don't understand that logic.
Why is he spending the majority of his paycheck on this? Because he's the majority of my paycheck goes to their college educations.
But it's the fact that he specified that it was part-time work, and this is just me in the context of Japanese life. I assume he has another full-time job, is my assumption. So he's doing this on top of that, so he can funnel the majority of his paycheck from this part-time job into their college funds.
Probably. Either way, the point is, he's a very diligent waiter, but he ain't going near that table. He wants to live. And so he quits on the spot and runs out of the restaurant. Yeah, I quit, boss, and runs out of the restaurant.
Props to him for going with his gut feeling.
The thing about that moment is, to me, that was hilarious because, as you recall, I mentioned to be taking this seriously was my initial issue. Why is any of this stuff with the way it goes on for so long. It's building up he's going to die and you're supposed to feel sorry about it. And he just chucks his
the tray down.
I quit, bye boss, and just runs out the back door full tilt. It's so funny.
It's a good thing he did, because the manager walked up to the table. Can I take your order, sir? And bursts into flames.
Because the cursed spirit, Jogo, appears to be a volcano spirit. And because he was getting upset with the conversation he's had, he just let loose a amount of heat that melts all the humans in this establishment. To summarize their conversation, it's mostly set dressing to like make them hyped up as villains. They essentially say we need to kill Gojo and we need to make Sukuna our friend. And then they go, wait, didn't Sukuna die with that monster we sent to kill him? They're established they're the ones who set off the cursed spirit in the detention center.
Yeah.
And then Gedo's is like, you would think he's dead.
Wouldn't you, you peasant? By the way, you can't actually kill Gojo. He's too powerful. Just put him in a box.
Yes, I'll take your box, but then also kill him.
Yeah, Jogo thinks he's hot shit. Like literally.
Well, he is.
Yeah. Before we get to the payoff of that, though, we have to mourn our dead friend because Yuji's totally dead, guys.
The comparison to Chainsaw Man earlier, one of the things that we rightly praised Chainsaw Man for, especially in part 2, was the idea that you don't shonen protag your way out of consequences. In Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen is more of a typical shonen in that regard.
To an extent, yeah. Because Megumi and Nobara are mourning their dead friend, and they're like, well, we better get back to our lives as Jujutsu sorcerers. And then the second years show up. You have Maki Zenin, the cursed item user. Toge Inumaki, the cursed speech user.
He only says rice ball fillings.
Yes.
And he is amazing.
And then Panda. Moving on.
No explanation because the manga doesn't give you one. Panda is a panda.
Panda is Panda. That's all you need.
We're introducing all these characters. We get to Panda, and then someone will think to themselves, the one I wanted an explanation for.
I didn't
talk about.
Yeah, same here, Jacob. I had so many questions.
They're like, all right, we're your senpais. We need you guys to fill out the roster for the inter-school tournament. I mean, the Goodwill Festival.
Because specifically, they would normally ask the third years, but there's 2 third years, and one of them is suspended, and they can't find the other one.
And the fourth member of the second years, who is the main character of the prequel chapters, he is currently away doing something else, and so he's unavailable for the...
He's training in Africa, isn't he?
Something along those lines. Our freshmen agree to help out the sophomores with this Goodwill Games thing. And meanwhile, Gojo's like, man, sucks that my new student is dead. I'm going to go kill all the higher-ups for it. Wait, no, that won't actually solve anything. Moment of anger. Anyway, I'm just going to go watch his autopsy.
As you do.
They retrieve the body, and Nurse Lady at Jujutsu High was like, all right, I'm going to dissect his body now. And then we get to perhaps one of my favorite scenes, a little battle inside the mind.
Before the battle inside the mind, perhaps we should clarify what's established in this scene before we go into Yuji's head is that the whole thing about like they should not have sent 3 first years into this lion's den. Gojo realizes the council wanted Yuji dead that day. I said no. I got him in as a student, so they sent him to his death by giving him a mission that was way outside of his pay grade. And they tried to kill 2 other of my students to piss me off. Well, good job. I'm pissed off now.
Disruptive. She strikes again.
Yeah, and it's great because in a normal shonen, you would just kind of brush it under the rug of like, yeah, of course the main character team on their first mission accidentally finds a way too high-level threat that you would never send a normal team on. And you'd be like, yeah, they're just that cool. But then everyone in universe is like, no, this is messed up. This never should have happened.
This is exactly why it shouldn't have happened.
There was no reason to do this mission. You weren't saving anybody.
Thankfully, after a brief conversation with Sukuna in a battle inside the mind, Yuji's not dead anymore. There is an important thing that happens, though. They are once again negotiating on how to use the body. And Sukuna's like, all right, here's the thing. I want to have unfettered control of the body for exactly 1 minute, and you will never remember this conversation happened or what I did with that minute. Understand? And
no, you're just going to hurt people.
And he's like, you're right, I will. But I mean,
he explicitly promises that he won't.
What he specifically promises is that he won't hurt his friends. Mm-hmm. With the implication that he won't hurt anybody. But Yuji, why should I believe anything that you say? You could very easily lie to me. A lesson many shonen protags should learn.
I want you to just revive me with no strings attached. And he's like, you're right, kid. How about we fight to the death for it? If I win, then we go with my terms. If you win, we go with your terms. All right, I'm going to kick your ass. And Sukuna promptly takes the top of Yuji's head off.
It's a great panel because Yuji is agreeing to the terms of the fight, and within that same millisecond has had his head cut in half.
Mm-hmm. And his mouth is still saying, I'm gonna kick your ass.
And what we do get established is Sukuna specifically says, it doesn't matter if you don't believe my promise. As a cursed spirit, I'm making a binding contract here. I can't break this.
I'm the one who's punished if I break this contract.
So, and then we get an immortal panel of Gojo talking with Japanese businessman as Dr. Lady is getting ready to dissect Yuji's body. And she's like, all right, I'm about to get started here. Are you guys going to watch this? And Yuji sits up, looks down at himself. And he's like, whoa, full frontal.
It's pretty amazing.
Because he's buck naked on the examining table.
Also, can we talk about how buff Yuji is?
I feel like every time we see like a cutaway, it's just he gets more and more buff. And I'm not quite sure how.
Well, that boy normally wears hoodies.
There has to be like a correlation with how many fingers he eats with just how buff he gets.
I don't think they're related at all. I think he's just naturally that buff because he's a demigod.
He doesn't even have any fingers before he jumps through a 4th-story window.
That's what I was going to say. He jumped through a 4th-story window. He has to have a muscle.
He and Gojo high five and greet each other as the bros that they are. And then Gojo's like, all right, got to train you how to use cursed energy. You're going to watch movies.
Woo! Yeah. I wish I was there. I wish I had that training arc.
Me too.
The in-universe explanation is Yuji doesn't need physical power, and he doesn't have the ability to actually learn techniques. That's something you have to be born with. So the only training he can actually do at the moment is learning how to regulate his natural cursed energy he's getting from the fingers. And that's tied to emotion. So the training he needs to do is constantly outputting a fixed amount of cursed energy, no matter what emotion he's feeling.
An alternative would just be speed dating. Like...
I mean, I want to watch that training arc.
Ladies, this is not just an ordinary, just endeavor. We are training him to be the next hero of the world.
He's given another one of Principal Guy Fieri's dolls, and if it's not given a fixed amount of cursed energy at all times, then it will punch him in the face. And he is told to sit there and watch a wide variety of movies that will elicit different emotions while still putting out that same low-level tension of cursed energy.
Because the important thing here about what this training actually does for him, what we were saying before about like negative energy being the source of power in this universe, if you're actually like that angry all the time, that sad all the time, it's going to affect how actively you can fight in the heat of the moment. So one of the most important things for Jujutsu sorcerers is that they have to be able to output these negative emotions without it letting it cloud their judgment. So by maintaining a steady flow of cursed energy while feeling a different wide variety of emotions, he's more able to effectively control what he has.
And while he's doing that, Gojo's going to go off and intimidate some old people.
He does that a lot.
Unfortunately, on the way to intimidate old people.
Yeah, on the way to intimidate old people, Volcano Curse. We're just going to call him Volcano Curse because Gojo versus Jogo is too goddamn much.
There are a lot of really similar names in this.
Too many names end with O in this.
Gojo is getting driven along. Just like the joke is that he's always late to every meeting. It's like, let's show up early for once. Actually, hold on. Pull over. Let me out. I know we're like a ways away from where I'm supposed to be going, but
we're on the side of a mountain with
they're
nothing
driving
around.
To Kyoto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They are on stereotypical lonely mountain Japanese road. It's the same place you saw frickin' Saber fight Rider in Fate Zero. It's where you've seen everyone fight everybody, all right? And he's standing there on the side of the road watching the car.
There's a great moment right before that where he says to the our poor forlorn driver. You drive away. Don't worry about me. And he's thinking, is this a test? Am I going to get punished if I get it wrong?
Is this because I was a co-conspirator in that conspiracy that almost killed your students?
What? No, just get out of here. And Volcano Curse drops down out of the sky, shattering the road in the process, and says, Satoru Gojo, I'm here to kill you, and creates a volcano out of the side of the mountain that erupts all over the man.
And it is so cool, everything that Jogo does, but I have a serious question I want everyone to know. How much did Gojo's PR person have to pay for this fight to exist? Because this is clowning. This is more clowning than we saw in Sukana's fight.
Because here's the thing. All of these Jujutsu sorcerers, most of them have a cursed technique. If they channel their cursed energy in a specific way, they can do a specific thing. Gojo's power is infinity. He can compress infinite space between himself and his opponent, rendering him literally invincible. Any attack that would hit him would need to cross an infinite amount of space.
I love the explanation in the author's notes about what this power is. It is powered by humans' fear of math. Because they specifically mention how they felt when they were doing limits in high school. Infinitely getting close to something, but never truly reaching it.
The scene where Gojo explains this to Volcano Curse is great, because he's like, here, try and touch my hand. I can't get close to him. Well, actually, it's more like the closer you get to me, the slower you're going, because you're crossing more space. But here, we can hold hands. Come on.
Don't be bashful. Crush.
You're making me embarrassed by rejecting me.
So he grabs his hand, and then Gojo uses his other free hand to pound multiple attacks straight into this thing.
In this fight, we get established that killing intent is a thing people can sense in this universe.
Mm-hmm. If you don't sense killing intent, then obviously there's no hostility going on.
They're not trying to kill you, so you shouldn't fear it. And it really only matters because of how this fight ends. But anyway.
Yeah, because Gojo is really messing up Volcano Curse's entire day. And Volcano Curse is like, all right, I'm going to have to use my domain expansion technique. And Gojo's like, oh, actually, this is a good teaching opportunity. One moment, and then timeout, teleports away, grabs Yuji, teleports back.
Yeah, Gojo can teleport? So fun story. The author's notes brings up that, yeah, I guess he can do that. The author apologizes for giving him teleporting.
Oh my god.
Gojo can just do whatever he wants. He is absolutely just in a league of his own.
Because he also complains about long train rides to different locations, so they have to go. He normally takes the train, but in this instance, he can teleport.
It's here that Volcano Curse expands his domain. He uses a whole bunch of cursed energy to create a little bubble of space where he is at his most powerful. And when you're inside a domain, cursed techniques will always hit you. Always. No, not even the infinite space power can protect you. The best way to deal with this, though, is to impose your own domain. And that's when Gojo takes off his blindfold.
I love the explanation that the best defense to getting attacked is to just be stronger.
Yeah.
What a worthless explanation. It essentially just becomes, both of you use your domain. Who's ever got the stronger domain will win.
And naturally, Gojo's is stronger as he goes full Dishonored and sends Volcano Curse to the void and is doing his best outsider impression as he appears and says, oh yeah, no, the reason that you're unable to move isn't because there's nothing around here for you to see. It's actually because you're experiencing the infinity of the universe all at once and your brain doesn't know how to calculate it. Anyway, I'm going to rip off your head now. You better answer my questions.
Yeah. And then he gets decapitated, and then they interrogate the head.
Interrogate the decapitated head.
But before they get any real meaningful information, a second special level cursed spirit comes jumping in and attacks with some kind of plant sorcery. But the big thing is Gojo is unable to sense them initially, and then doesn't have a strong defense because the entire time Hanami, as we get established as this cursed spirit's name, at no point do they feel killing intent from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's there to grab the head and get out and is not going to hurt them.
Brings the head of Volcano Spirit back to our bad guys, including Geto and a dude who looks like... Well, I keep saying we live in a post-Resident Evil world. He looks a bit like Ethan Winters all stitched together.
Oh, I was going to say he looks like a Demon Slayer character, but in this universe.
He also does look like that. You're right.
I don't remember his name, but the Hiroaka character with the blue flames.
Dobby. Yeah.
Dobby. Yeah, I got Dobby vibes.
And they do the classic villain thing of, oh ho, this is a more entertaining situation than we thought.
And then we go back to our main characters, who also were training for the Goodwill Festival this entire time. They had a much more mundane training arc.
They did have a much more mundane training arc, though it did have the important thing of establishing the stakes of the Goodwill event, because we are introduced to two people from Kyoto Jujutsu High, including Mai Zenin, Maki's sister, I think. At the very least, she's
either
from the same
sister or
family.
cousin.
She's her twin, I think.
Oh, is she? Yeah, it's either sister or cousin, but they're from the same family.
I think their relationship gets actually defined in the next arc, but yeah, they have the same family name. So
either way, Mai has a gun.
Yeah,
her cursed tool is a gun.
Is to shoot you with bullets.
Like they're cursed bullets, but
which seems to make them less effective. Because if you just shot someone, they'd be dead.
Look, she's using cursed energy to control the amount of explosion in the chamber.
We are not going back to that. We don't have the time.
I was just gonna say, are we going back to fire?
We do not have the time to go back to that. we need to talk about my boy Aoi Todo.
He has a pineapple for a head.
He's extremely buff, and the first thing he does is he turns to Megumi and he's like, "What kind of women do you like? Be careful with your answer. A person's taste is indicative of what kind of person they are. If you have boring taste, then you're a boring guy, and I don't like boring people. By the way, I like tall women with big butts!" And I have never spiritually connected with a manga character more in my entire life.
Yeah, he specifically says if he's unhappy with Megumi's answer, he's going to beat him half to death. Which, when Megumi looks around to the three women surrounding him before he answers, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
Because you can tell he has an honest answer, but he doesn't want to be vulgar, for one. Then he looks around to the women around him and then gives a very safe answer.
Well, also, Nobara actually says to him, if you say something like big boobs, I'm gonna punch you. On top of him being concerned just generally.
So he gives the most obvious answer you'd expect. Well, it really doesn't matter what they're like as long as they're kind and compassionate.
I knew it. You have boring taste, and you're a boring guy. I'm going to suplex you now.
And then they start fighting and then stop fighting because you need to save it for the competition. And then Owl Todo needs to also go to the Tokyo event of an idol he wants to meet because he missed the Kyoto event.
Yes. We did learn an important thing that during the prologue chapters event, Todo took on 3 grade 1 spirits and a special grade spirit and beat all of them. And he only used his curse technique for the special grade one because that's when he needed to bust out his real power. They
explain in passing in the chapters so that you're not lost, but you see the events play out. And one of the things that they make pretty clear is Maki Zenin. She hates her last name because she is the black sheep of the family because she doesn't use energy herself. She can't even see curses without her glasses, but quite frankly, she looks really, really cute in those glasses.
And she is best girl because the entire reason she wants to become a Jujutsu sorcerer is specifically because she is not naturally capable of it. She wants to become a really good one despite all of the bastards in her family that laughed at her.
Yeah, she's pretty top tier.
And to close off our reading, we get a final glorious scene where after clowning on the volcano guy to death, Gojo meets the head of the Kyoto, or the chairman of the Jujutsu Kaisen board. I forget.
Something like that.
He's the principal of the Kyoto school and also on the council that tried to kill Yuji.
Essentially, he's a very old man. Like, he's depicted with like droopy ears and like wrinkles beyond anything. And he is very conservative.
Gojo walks up to him and says, "The future is now, old man. Suck my and walks away." He says a lot more than that, but that is the essence of it.
It is essentially the same conversation he had earlier in private with the doctor, but in public, and says, "Old man, you don't understand. The new wave of jujutsu sorcerers are going to take your old ways by storm and leave you far beyond the power scale."
Which is just one more reason to love Gojo, because he doesn't say it behind people's backs. He goes right up to the people he doesn't like and says, "Come at me, bro. You won't."
Old man is like, you've got a smart mouth, Gojo. And he's like, "Yeah, I do. What are you going to do? Fight me? I'm invincible. Come at me."
At which point, as he's leaving, he says, "By the way, the person you were actually here to be in 2 hours, I lied to you about the time. Bye."
It's a really cute scene at the end where the president's assistant is a huge fangirl for Gojo, and the entire time she has like little bubbles of like, "Oh, he's so dreamy," which, in all fairness, there are multiple characters who fangirl over Gojo in universe.
Out loud, she's like, "How dare you say this to the respectable elder?"
Have you seen him?
I've seen him.
It's really cute because the president sends her out for tea because he's now got a 2-hour wait. So instead of going to get tea, she runs after Gojo to get a selfie. And the end of the panel thing is a picture of her selfie she got with him.
And also Toto finally getting to that idol.
And he had her do the cute, like, Toro beam or whatever, and then got yelled at that he was taking too much time and had to move on.
And that brings us to the end of our reading. So let's get this discussion down. Favorite character for me? I mean, I said it at the beginning. I love Gojo. He is invincible. He knows it. I did not have the words for it earlier, but Matt's right with the big youth pastor energy. How about you, Jacob?
I have a feeling we're all gonna say Gojo. So definitely Gojo is number one. Like, not that he breaks the fourth wall, but like, you kind of feel like a part of him knows he's in a manga, and he also knows he can't die, so he just does whatever he wants. Mm-hmm. Which is just, like, he's so entertaining. And just because, again, I think we're all probably going to end up having Gojo as at least near the top. Another character that I really like, not just because Sam and I read the prologue, but or the prequel comic, but Maki Zenin, love the character design. She's super cute, and I really liked her story. And not knowing that prequel wasn't supposed to be read in order, when we skipped away from that, I was actually really sad that I wanted to see more of her. When does she...
How about you, Jay? Who's your favorite?
I think you guys set me up. It's freaking Gojo. Freaking disruptive Kakashi. Love it.
I mean, I can rock the boat here. I'm not actually a huge Gojo fan.
Really?
I don't. I know.
Explain yourself.
He's normally right up in my bag, because the thing I love is characters who are confident and can back it up. Like, I love that, like, loud, boastful confidence that comes with, like, yes, I can do this thing. But, like, I don't know. The fact that Gojo is like the top of the pyramid, and like there's literally nothing above him, kind of like it's the same reason why I prefer Simone to Kamina. Like, I prefer people who have like a little room to grow. Gojo is already on top, and he is a good motivating factor for other people, which is hilarious because Gojo acknowledges that. He is a better teacher than he would be at anything else, because he says he could excel at anything he would want to do, but what he wants is to have everyone else rise. But I've talked a lot about Gojo for me not even saying he's my favorite character. I really love Nobara.
Yeah.
She's great, and since I guess I'll say another one, Sukuna. I don't know why I keep saying his name wrong, but he's great. I love
He might be my favorite antagonist, like, in everything we've read.
I'm going to be honest, when I picked the chapters we read to, I thought the next arc was in this, and I'm like, oh, but no.
Well,
Next
stay
time.
tuned for part 2.
Yeah, we're only doing that arc. No,
So, favorite fight? Well, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't say it was, Gojo absolutely clowning on people, but I gotta give it up for the battle inside the mind. Like, it's mostly a battle of words between Yuji and Sukuna, but I'm a fan of those. And even though it ends with a very abrupt decapitation, it's a very interesting battle all the same.
I guess for me, the funny thing is, and this is not a matter of like, we've all talked about how great the art is. I think the art is at its best when it's like doing glamour shots. I don't dislike the fight scenes, but none of them really grabbed me. So honestly, I think I might second the battle inside the mind. The alternative is Nobara clowning on the mannequin curse. That was it was so swift. There wasn't really much of a fight to it, but it so well establishes why you should like her character, which for someone with a big personality like hers is really critical, because if that personality grates on someone, it's really easy to give that character the wrong impression, and it establishes why you should like her and care about her so quickly. And as we've all said, really cool weapon. Third favorite character would probably be Nobara. So I guess I'll go with that as my favorite fight.
Hey, Jay, you got a favorite fight?
In addition to Gojo's fights, I would have to say class encounter. I'd have to agree, just because it was the fact that it kind of was reminiscent of like Ghost Story. I don't know. I don't know why it kind of like sprung that in me, but it was just kind of almost comical of like initially before there was a switch over of how like they were being like flat out destroyed. I don't know. There was a bit of like comedy in there for me.
You know what? Yeah, I was going to actually say the Sukuna Megumi fight is my favorite. And I think I would still say as like an actual fight, that's my favorite, because that's got a lot of like cool dynamic things and they're fighting over like a law and the ending to that's really good. But like the schoolyard fights between Megumi and Nobara and the class 2s, and then also against the Kyoto people when they show up, I love the fact that they're fighting and like throwing schoolyard insults at each other. Like Nobara flat out tells a girl she's got bad pores.
Yeah, I take back what I said. Maki, Maki, prettier. Have you been getting enough sleep? I can see all your pores.
I'm
like,
while she's being held at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And like the mangaka actually explains like, yeah, I feel a little bad about how mean the high school kids are to each other, but high school kids are mean to each other.
Yeah.
And you need to understand one of the big things about jujutsu fights is if you can't just kill the person, what you need to do is emotionally get them off their rocker so they waste power where it doesn't need to be used. So they're attacking each other mentally and physically. Mm-hmm. Like that's what those insults are supposed to do, is get them to like overreact and waste a bunch of energy on something.
My superpower is cattiness.
Also, Nobara flat out just spending her vacation buying clothes is her training arc. I loved.
I said it once and I'll say it again. Nobara has my infinite respect for her ability to stand there, look death in the eye, plant her feet, and tell it to go screw itself.
She's in Tokyo, and she's gonna have her trip and enjoy it. And how dare you come in between that? Mm-hmm. How dare you put that hole in her jersey?
Cool. Yeah, you ripped the tracksuit that I literally just bought. How dare you?
Take off your clothes and leave them behind to replace it.
I feel a bit remiss because I've got on the discussion topics. We could talk about the cursed energy in this thing, but I think the one thing we haven't really hit the stride of is having enough people with examples using cursed techniques to really get an idea of how the system works.
Yeah, I don't think we have really a concept of like what these techniques really look like. We just see people with powers and people maybe not so overtly with powers, like people who are obviously more sensitive to being able to see these creatures, but we don't have people who are using like definitive techniques.
Yeah,
it just seems like random powers.
Because the big thing is what we've seen is people fighting cursed spirits. We haven't seen them fight like the humanoid cursed spirits that can use techniques, or because the only person who fights them is Gojo, who clowns on him, or Sukuna, who just obliterates them with pure power. The Goodwill Games fight is a lot of jujutsu sorcerers fighting each other and explaining their powers. I think that would be that'd be a better arc to discuss the cursed energy system after, because it would have like examples you could go off of. Because right now it's essentially just evil ki.
Yeah, it very much is the case. And like there was a little bit more in the prologue stuff that like I've seen a little bit more of the system, and like it's very much the case. This is building up to doing a showcase of this is why our particular system is what it is. Because like the only real note that I had about it is like I don't see why you can't do like curse energy and just like vanilla magic or something like that as an alternative. Just for like a little bit of variety. But like, you know, the next arc is basically the way it's setting it up is explaining why it's the way it is, narratively speaking.
So
I would argue that there is a little bit of magic because there are people who don't have techniques, but they're able to summon spirits and whatnot. So, I mean, I would argue that there is a bit of that, like they can just do benign magic things that are miraculous, but they're not able to like utilize their power and something that would be a definitive like
Maki's.
Yeah.
Well, Maki's see, the thing is Maki's still using cursed objects, but it's like that's getting into like what do they even mean by curse energy?
Oh, yeah, it sounds like we're getting into a crash course of what the heck any of this is. So
I mean, so I guess we can just do this. You all know I've already read more of this. I think I made it to around chapter 60 last time I was really into this. I've dropped off keeping recent with it. But, so Sam, would you continue reading Jujutsu Kaisen?
Oh, absolutely. I'm having a blast with it.
Okay. Jay, would you continue reading?
I do. I would continue reading. The only problem is, you know, I've wanted to continue reading so many of these, so I don't know, you know, where it would be on my list.
I couldn't rank them for you right now on demand, but okay.
I'm saying it seems to be a common thread of yes, I would reread this. Yes, I would continue reading. When am I going to get around to that?
Who knows?
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of in the same camp. I liked this, but I honestly, it's only kind of barely my cup of tea, and I think I'd put it low on my list of things to get around to. Like, if I had a whole bunch of time to just get through a bunch of stuff, heck yeah, I'd keep reading this because it's really good. But I know there's other stuff that, with the limited time I have available to me, I know there's other stuff I prioritize over this. In terms of like I mean, definitely check it out. Yeah, I kind of know it would be lower on my list than some of the other stuff that like Chainsaw Man I'd probably put over it. But it's definitely a really fun series when you have the time for it.
All right. I believe that wraps up our discussion. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of the OverMangaCast. Make sure to leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice. Follow us at OverMangaCast for our premier shitposts and bad opinions. And make sure to tune in next time, where we are going to return to Webtoon, this time for something a bit more in our wheelhouse.
I remember when this was a manga discussion podcast.
Well, now it's a Mahanhwa podcast because we're doing Tower of God, chapters 1 to 34. I'll finally have something to put my binge listening of the OP too. So we'll see you all next Thursday. Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
night.
everybody.